Hello and welcome to another episode of All Access with the Profs. I am Leo West, and next to me is Joel Embiid. I mean, Gerasimos Geravasiliou, and today we have a great episode planned for you today.
I gotta say, for you to mistake me for a former NBA MVP and my favorite player ever, it's an honor. It's an honor, Leo.
You guys are pretty similar.
Yeah. I mean, one's 7 foot tall and one's 5'8", but I'll take it, Leo. I'll take it. But you got that right. It's officially March, and the Rowan Profs are looking to create some madness as they seek NJAC success, which may include some freeze-frame finishes. But more on that later. But first, let's see what is later. Coming up here, you will hear from our field reporters with updates on the winter teams. We find out who the athlete of the week is with Luke Brown. And of course, Jacob Michaud, he's going to bring out his wand once again in today's Magic Minute.
It looks like it's going to be a great episode. Now, let's check in with men's basketball. They had a date with number 6th ranked Montclair State up in North Jersey. For men's basketball updates, it's Sarah Shockey.
Thanks, guys. Men's basketball season is officially over after losing in the NJAC semifinals last week. The number 6 nationally ranked Montclair State University Redhawks eliminated the Rowan University Profs on Wednesday, 89-75. Khalil Baker led the Profs with 20 points, followed by Taz Canty with 18. Both were among 5 Profs to finish in double figures. The Profs led by as many as 12 points, but an 18-0 run by the Redhawks in the second half sent the reigning conference champions back to the championship game to face TCNJ. It was a roller coaster season for Rowan, starting 0-8 before picking up their first win against Kane and finishing 5th in the NJAC to clinch a playoff spot. They conclude their 2025-2026 campaign with a 10-17 overall record. Reporting from SB Gymnasium in Glassboro, I'm Sarah Shockey with All Access with the Profs, sending it back to the studio.
Thanks, Sarah. A valiant effort from the Brown and Gold this season. The men's and women's indoor track and field teams return to the Ott Center this week at the University of Pennsylvania for Day 2 of the NJAC Championships. With both squads racing for glory, Aiden Ray gives us the results.
Thanks, guys. The Rowan men's and women's indoor track and field teams both competed in Day 2 of the NJAC Championships on Friday at the Ott Center in Philadelphia. Both teams did some great things over the weekend. Starting off with the men's team, who are NJAC championships for the 11th year in a row. They finished with a total of 265 points. Second place TCNJ had 152. Many school records went down on Friday, including Ray John Dixon breaking his own program mark and winning the 200 meters. Joshua Justin bettered the triple jump record as his 14.99 meter effort moved him up to number 5 in Division III in the event where he placed second. Amazing job by the men's team. Moving over to the women's team, who are NJAC champions for the first time since 2016-17, they finished with a total of 201 points. Gabriella Pagano was a dual winner on the day, claiming first place in the mile and the 3,000 meters. Nyla Jones won the 60-meter hurdle for the second year in a row as a sophomore ran an identical 8.87 seconds in both the preliminaries and final. Amazing job by the women's team. Up next for both track and field teams, they will compete in the AAR TFC Championships at the Armory in New York City. This is Aiden Ray, your Rowan track and field reporter here on All Access with the Profs, and we will send it right back to the studio.
Thanks, Aiden. Congratulations to both men's and women's track teams for their sweep at the NJAC Championships. Jacob Michaud will highlight the team later in Michaud's Magic Minute. Now it's time for the Athlete of the Week, and I have a suspicion that this athlete could be one of those champions.
Here with our all-access athlete of the week after claiming 4 gold medals in NJACs, it's Gabriella Pagano from the women's indoor track and field team. Gabriella, certainly a strong weekend, kind of an extended weekend at Penn for you after the snow day. Super exciting. This team brought home their first track and field indoor title since 2017. How does it feel for this group?
I would say I'm incredibly proud, coming from being a freshman to, losing for 3 years in a row. And last year especially, we were only 5.5 points away from winning, so it feels really good, knowing that I contributed to the win, and especially heavy on the distance side. I think it was, in the mile, I think we scored 26 points, and then in another distance event, it was like 29.
It really came down to that 3K It was likely that you were going to win, which you did, and you also needed a partner to join you at least in third place, if not second, in Shannon Stackelback. You guys loaded that 3K, and by the end of it, TCNJ didn't have a chance in the 4x4, so break down how important that 3K was and how you guys delivered in it.
I would say that's kind of been the turning point from last year to this year, especially for this year. Going into it, we knew kind of what I was going to run, and Shannon ran a phenomenal, smart, it was very tactical. She was extremely calculated. It was flawless. There's not much more to say.
We're going to try something new on this week's segment of Athlete of the Week and break down some celebrations. So take a look at first celebration for Gabriella Pagano. Gabriella, this was in what event again? Remind us.
This one was the 5K.
And the celebration, you're starting a search. What's the search? Explain it.
So I'm searching for the rest of the race. I happened to win by about a minute. Last year in the 5K I ran 18:20, so it's like a 50-second jump within a year.
You're holding up a C. Explain the C?
Yeah, so this is during the 3K. This is the last event. The C is a reference to Sue Sylvester from Glee. That's how Sue sees it. In this case, that's how I see it.
If you know, you know. That's all. Gabriella Pagano, Athlete of the Week on All Access this week. Congratulations, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Luke. Nationally ranked women's lacrosse opened their 2026 campaign this week, playing Lebanon Valley on the road and Muhlenberg at the Rowan Soccer and Lacrosse Complex. For more on women's lacrosse, here's Jordan Weisinger to set the stage for this season.
The 2026 women's lacrosse season is officially underway. Rowan getting their first 2 games out of the way already, notching their first win against Lebanon Valley 18-4 on Wednesday, and already dropping their first loss to Muhlenberg at home on Saturday. The Mules got their revenge from last season and stayed undefeated in 2026. As for Rowan, defense ultimately let them down. Alyssa Hartnett scored 4 goals against them on 5 shots, including the 13th and final goal for Muhlenberg. On the bright side, Elena Corson scored 4 of her own, along with an assist, and eclipsed the 200-goal mark for her collegiate career. Corson leads the team in both goals and assists for a total of 12 points on the season. The Profs are back in action here in the borough this Wednesday against Ursinus at 4 p.m. From the Rowan Soccer and Lacrosse Complex, this is Jordan Weisinger. Now let's send it to Mason Kinahan for this week's episode of Tape Talk.
Thanks, Jordan. Women's lacrosse has scored 29 goals in their first 2 games, and Elena Corson is responsible for 8 of them. Corson is off to a hot start, including scoring her 200th goal against Muhlenberg last Saturday. But how has Corson been able to get off to such a great start? Well, let's dive into the tape and find out. Rowan gets off to a little bit of a slow start defensively, but Elena Corson is going to be able to score her 197th career goal and help Rowan get this to a 2-goal deficit with about 4.5 minutes left in the first quarter. You'll see Yasmin Harris in the middle is going to attract this attention of the Muhlenberg defenders, which is going to collapse this defense. Lowry also does a good job of looking off these defenders, opening up a lane for Elena Corson here on this right side. Lowry's going to send this over across the field to Corson, who's going to quickly use her speed to take up the space. And this is a tough angle on this shot from Corson, but she's going to be able to get it through the net, past the goaltender, and score her 197th career goal. Let's skip ahead now to the middle of the third quarter, where Rowan needs to gain some momentum. Muhlenberg has scored 5 of the last 7 goals of this game. Elena Corson already has 2 goals, and she's going to be able to get her hat trick here to put Rowan back within 2. You'll see pretty much just blown coverage from the Mules here. This Muhlenberg defender is going to completely lose Elena Corson in her coverage on this left side. And a good job by the Profs to quickly get the ball over to Corson, who, when you have one-on-one between Corson and a goaltender, Corson's going to win this 9 times out of 10. She goes top shelf and scores her 199th career goal. Shortly after 199, Corson finds number 200, and she gets some help here from Fiona Lockhart. Lockhart isn't able to control this ball, but in a way, this is going to help Rowan because it puts Muhlenberg's defense out of place. And when Lockhart's able to control the ball, she notices a wide open Elena Corson with a whole lot of space in front of her. Look how much space there is inside this 8-meter arc. Lockhart's going to be able to hit Corson in stride. And even though Corson knows she's about to take a hit, she goes bottom right to secure number 200 and a big milestone in her career. That'll do it for this week's segment of Tape Talk here on All Access with the Profs. I've been your host, Mason Kinahan, and we'll be right back.
Hate is loud. It gets clicks. It gets attention. Hate, however, is actually quite small. But love is the majority. Love fills our hearts, our lives, our everyday.
We welcome you back to the desk on this week's episode of All Access with the Profs, and I don't want to move on from women's lacrosse just yet because we got to talk about a very, very special player, Leo.
Oh, we have to do. I mean, Elena Corson hitting 200 goals in her Rowan career is as impressive as any feat that we've seen a Rowan athlete accomplish here. I mean, she might go and break the NJAC scoring record this season. Maybe 100 goals in the season is on the cards for Elena Corson too. But if she continues to play well, I think the Profs could get back on track with the spark plug from the offense.
100%, and not to mention, not just a great lacrosse player, a fantastic athlete. Plays on the women's soccer team as well. So a dual sport athlete, you don't see that very often. Very rare.
No, you do not. I mean, at here it's commonplace. Everywhere else, not so much. So. But but Owen has got some more NJAC action for all of us. We're going to send things down over to Owen Caldwell with the calendar segment. Take it away, Owen.
What's going on, everyone? Owen Caldwell with you here on All Access with the Profs for another calendar segment. We are officially in the month of March. Isn't that crazy? Well, just because it's a new month doesn't mean that the Rowan Athletics schedule slows down. Here is what we have on the calendar for this upcoming week. Beginning on Wednesday, women's lacrosse will host Ursinus at 4 p.m. here in Glassboro. With this being their second straight home game, the Profs have been unaffected by the wild weather in the borough as of recently. However, we cannot say the same about baseball. After having their doubleheader against Cortland canceled this past weekend, their home game against Haverford on Thursday has also been postponed. A new date has not yet been announced. Now we go to Friday. Men's and women's indoor track and field will travel to New York City to take part in the AAR TFC Championships, getting underway at 10 a.m. Also, softball will begin their season on this day, as they will have two games. At 1:30 p.m., the Profs will take on Eastern Mennonite, and then they will battle North Carolina Wesleyan at 4 p.m. Both of these games will be in Raleigh, North Carolina, as part of the Grand Slam Triangle Classic. Finally, baseball is scheduled to open their season, taking on Penn State Harrisburg at 2 p.m. from Iron Bridge Sports Park in Chester, Virginia. We have made it to Saturday. Buckle up because there are a lot of events on this day. Both indoor track and field teams will get back to work in New York for Day 2 of the AAR TFC Championships, starting at 10 a.m. Softball will stay in Raleigh for Day 2 of the Grand Slam Triangle Classic, this time taking on William Peace at 11 a.m. and then Salisbury at 1:30 p.m., as it says right here. Finally, women's lacrosse is back in action on this day, going head-to-head with Stevens at 1 p.m. on the road. Moving on to Sunday, baseball is scheduled to take on Vermont State Castleton in a doubleheader. Game 1 is scheduled to begin at 11 a.m., while Game 2 is scheduled to start at approximately 2 p.m. These games will be played at the Diamond Nation Complex in Flemington, New Jersey. Finally, we are on to Monday, where softball is scheduled to face SUNY Oneonta at home after multiple postponements. These games are scheduled to begin at 1 and 3 p.m. from the Rowan softball field. Now, for my game of the week, we are sticking with softball this week and focusing on Rowan versus Salisbury this Saturday at 1:30 p.m. This is a rematch from NCAA Super Regionals just 1 year ago. Back on May 23, 2025, Rowan was able to defeat the Seagulls 15-1 and 6-2 to officially punch their ticket to the NCAA Championship Tournament out in Illinois. Also, both of these teams were ranked on the NFCA Division III Top 25 Coaches Poll heading into the season, with Rowan at number 6 and Salisbury at number 18. That'll do it for another calendar segment. Now it is time for Sam Prince and Greg Mazzo to preview softball.
Thank you, Owen. Welcome back to Primetime Preview. I'm Sam Prince. Alongside me today is Greg Mazzo. And this Saturday, the number 6 ranked Rowan softball team will be taking on the number 18th ranked Salisbury this Saturday in a rematch of last year's NCAA Super Regional round, where Rowan and Salisbury went out, where Rowan swept the Seagulls to punch a ticket to the College Softball World Series. And Rowan, one of the big X factors for them was Abigail Pulowski last year. She was 6th on the team in batting average, 338 batting average, 46 hits, 15 extra base hits, and 36 RBIs. Now, Mazzo, we've seen her have clutch moments. She's been a playoff performer where she had an RBI single to get the party started last year in Game 1 where they won 15-1, or then they eventually won Game 2 to sweep Salisbury. But, Mazzo, who was another big X factor for Rowan in this game?
It has to be Kate Evig because last season she had 355 with 29 RBI. She also had a home run as well, a 913 OPS, and she's going to have to replace some big production in that lineup when you lost players like Liz McCaffrey and you lost Peyton McNair and Brianna Bryant. She's going to have to fill some big shoes. But another player that's going to have to do the same as well is Allie Ryan, because she also hit 336 last year with 1 home run, 41 RBIs, and an 829 OPS. So when I look at 2 players in this lineup that really need to step up, not only this season for the Profs and in this game, but really throughout the rest of their careers, I'm looking at Kate Evig and Allie Ryan, because I think the impact of those 2 players are going to flow through the rest of this lineup.
Well, we saw Ryan last year as a great base runner for the Profs. She stole a lot of bases. But let's now look at the Seagulls. Someone I want to take a look at is Sam Flowers, who last season had a 280 batting average and an OPS of 782, 35 hits, and 35 runs on the season last year. But Mazzo, she'll most likely go through Rowan's ace, Emily McCutcheon, who last year had a win-loss record of 21-2, had a sub-1 ERA, and had 15 complete shutout games on the season.
And that last year's game in the Super Regionals against Salisbury, Emily McCutcheon went the distance, 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, and 9 ground ball outs. Emily McCutcheon is a pitcher that's really not going to dominate a game when it comes to strikeouts, but she's going to get a lot of soft contact. She's going to get a lot of ground ball outs, a lot of fly ball outs, and that's what her game is, and that's why she's one of the best pitchers, not only in the NJAC Conference, but in the entire country, because she had a sub-1 ERA last year. She was terrific, and they're going to really need her to be good in this game against a very tough Salisbury lineup.
And Mazzo, if the Profs can get a win this Saturday, it'll be a statement win.
It will be. It definitely will be, because it's a rematch. And, I mean, if you do this 2 years in a row against Salisbury, it'll just be a good start to a season where, as one of the best teams in the country coming off a College World Series appearance, this is a team that can make a statement coming out the season to start.
Well, we'll see if it can be a statement win, but that'll do it for us for this week on Primetime Preview. For news on what's going around in the conference, we're going to send it over to Keegan Thompson.
Welcome back to Around the NJAC, and good evening. Spring sports are just starting up right about now with lacrosse well underway this season, but the big story around the NJAC right now is that men's and women's basketball playoffs have wrapped up this weekend and 2 champions were crowned. Starting with women's basketball semifinals, where we left off last week, Rutgers Camden, who took out the Profs in the quarterfinals, are up against number 2 seed TCNJ. And the Lions won big, 79-58, punching their ticket into the NJAC final. But who would they face? To find out, let's head over to top seed, undefeated 17th in the nation, William Patterson. The Pioneers took on the Stockton Osprey at home and won 67-57. So that sets up our top seeds in the finals, with William Patterson hosting. The Lions roared to life in the second half to take the win 78-55. TCNJ scored 50 points in the second half, led by Katie Fricker with 17 points on the night, but it was Brooke McFadden being the key component of the offense. While scoring 14 points, 10 of them were from the charity stripe, and she grabbed 12 offensive rebounds to feed the team. And by the way, her 235 rebounds this year are good for 10th all-time in TCNJ single-season history. So, TCNJ, they're your NJAC women's basketball champions for the first time since 2009, and they earned a spot in the NCAA Division III tournament. William Patterson also received an at-large bid, so we want to wish them luck. So, do the NJAC proud, ladies. Up next, men's hoops time. We also left off in our semifinals with our Rowan Profs receiving marching orders for a trip to #1 seed, 6th in the nation, Montclair State. And as you heard earlier, the Profs made their playoff exit with an 89-75 loss. But the Profs, they fought all night. They dominated in the paint with 46 points and 23 points from turnovers. They went to halftime at 42-42 tie against the #6 team in the nation, but it was Montclair's depth that was just a little bit too much. 19 bench points for the Red Hawks, and that proved to be the difference. So, who would they face in the finals? Well, that would be decided in Ewing, where TCNJ once again hosted Stockton to a capacity crowd of over 1,170. In a contest featuring 14 lead changes, the home team prevailed 76-66. Excuse me, that was wrong. It's 83-81 in the championship, but that's a bit of a spoiler. So, both TCNJ basketball teams made it to the finals, in fact, as the 2nd seed with both times. Now, once again, they had a mountain to climb for the Lions as they faced mighty Montclair, still stinging from their only loss in the regular season to TCNJ the week before playoffs. And, well, we had that spoiled a little bit earlier, so Montclair, they took the lead at halftime, but going into the final minute, it was TCNJ only down by 2. David Alexander from TCNJ tied it up with 48 seconds left. Montclair had an opportunity to take the lead with a 3, but they missed. And then it was Matthew Solomon in the paint for an 8-second left layup. And it was good. The Lions completed the upset 83-81. Alexander scored a team-high 24 points, while Solomon had 22 of his own and scooped up 17 rebounds. TCNJ wins both NJAC basketball tournaments, 2nd win in 3 years for the men, who are off to the NCAAs with Montclair once again earning an at-large bid. So, good luck to both of them. And that will put a neat little bow on winter sports, and now it's on to the spring, coming up next week. But that's all from me. We'll see you next week for some more Around the NJAC. And we're going to head back over to the desk to hear from my guys, Gerasimos and Leo.
Thanks, Keegan. And, I mean, you said it best. That game between TCNJ and Montclair State sent shockwaves around not just the NJAC, but around the nation. So much so that a very particular person that is very well known within the NCAA basketball saw it himself.
Yeah, Jay Wright, we retweeted the ending of that game in Gerasimos. I don't know what was crazier, the ending to the TCNJ Montclair State game the first time or this time. I mean, 2 incredible games and a team at TCNJ, both the men's and the women's, that are deserving of a national recognition and a spot in the national tournament for sure. It was just some really, really impressive stuff. I mean, they definitely had some magic on their side. And, you know, it could have been a magical run for the Profs if they had gone far, but I know someone who's actually got some magic with them. It's Jacob Michaud. Take it away.
Thanks, Leo. Awaiting day 2 of the NJAC Championship for men's and women's track and field. And I'm pleased to share that magic lives for an 11th straight year for the men as they absolutely dominated in day 2. They started the day trailing, but ended up taking home the championship by a deficit of over 100 points. Ray John Dixon, who already had a big day 1, ran an incredible 21.15 in the 200 meters, which ranks him at #2 in the nation at D3 and is now the 5th fastest time in D3 history. Let's take a quick look at his work right here. I mean, just look at that speed. I mean, what a day. He had day 1 and day 2. He was absolutely cooking. Looking at him getting into the finish there, that was his work on the relay team as well, which once again boosted the Profs all the way up to that huge lead by the end of day 2. And get this, the women who came into day 2 in 3rd place went ahead and swiped the NJAC Championship as well. Gabriella Pagano won not once but twice individually on day 2, claiming 1st place in both the mile and 3,000 meters. After spending each of the, and let's take a look at that real quick as well, actually. And there we go, out of focus, right into focus, into that shot there. Great job there. Jeez, a lot of speed there. My gosh, I wish I was that fast, genuinely. My goodness, my Lord have mercy. But anyways, after spending each of the last 7 years on the lower end of the podium between 2nd and 3rd, women's track and field has finally reigned supreme in the NJAC Championship. What an absolutely magical come-from-behind finish for both of these teams. That's all the magic I've got in me this week, which you have to admit was quite a lot. Let's hand the wand over now to Jake Kitchen with the latest in professional sports news. The stage.
Thanks, Jacob. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Weekly Sports News. I will be guiding you through all of the biggest sports stories from the past week. To start us off, the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine took place from Thursday to Sunday, and it gave us a great preview of what the future holds for the league. We got to see the speed, strength, and mobility of all the prospects, and here's who stood out. To start off, Brennan Thompson, a wide receiver from Mississippi State, led the way in the 40-yard dash, running an electric time of 4.26 seconds. Going from speed to strength, Kentucky defensive tackle David Gusta put up an incredible 37 reps in the bench press to top the week. Finally, the best overall prospect grade was given to Ohio State edge rusher Arvell Reese, as he was the only prospect to receive a grade above a 7 on the 8-point scale. The future of the NFL is in good hands with these prospects. Now heading from the gridiron to the hardwood, the game of the week in the NBA showcased the number 3 seed in the East, the New York Knicks, facing off against the number 2 seed in the West, the San Antonio Spurs. Before the matchup, the Spurs were on an 11-game win streak, their longest since the 2015 to 2016 season. That streak came to a close as the Knicks, led by Mikal Bridges with 25 points, won with ease 114-89. Staying in the East, this past week was not a good one for 76ers fans as Joel Embiid suffered a right oblique injury in a win over the Miami Heat on Thursday. On Saturday, an MRI revealed that it is a strain which will leave Embiid sidelined for at least 3 games. Now for my final story of the week, UConn's women's basketball team defeated St. John's on Sunday to improve the record to a perfect 31-0, despite having the 13th hardest schedule in all of Division I. This marks the program's 11th undefeated regular season and their first since the 2017 to 2018 season. The Huskies will look to extend their winning streak on Saturday when they face either Georgetown or Butler in the Big East Tournament quarterfinals. There have only been 10 teams in the history of women's college basketball to complete an undefeated regular season and postseason, and there may soon be another if the Huskies continue their dominance they've shown since their last loss in February of 2025. Well, that is all I have for last week in sports. Again, I am Jake Kitchen, and as always, thank you for tuning in to Weekly Sports News here on All Access with the Profs. I will see you all next week with more of the biggest sports stories from around the sports world. Now let's toss it back to Gerasimos and Leo to wrap up our show.
Thanks, Jake. Another wonderful week of national sports madness. But I heard, Gerasimos, something happened in the world of soccer that the both of us were not too happy about.
Yeah, the only thing on my mind in professional sports is the Philadelphia Union. I mean, they have 2 red cards before scoring a goal in open play. I'm getting sick and tired of this. Chris Callow, our audio guy, congrats on your big win, NYCFC. The second straight time that they beat us in the playoffs last year. They beat us again. It's unbelievable, Leo. Unbelievable.
Well, I mean, look on the bright side. There's always the next game, and it's a long season too, but something that we have long awaited for, Gerasimos, is March Madness. And let me tell you how excited I am for March Madness. I mean, speaking of college basketball, that UConn women's team, they might go ahead and win the whole thing. But for the men's side, I'm excited for that as equally as much as I am for the women's too. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. But speaking of March Madness, I'm looking right at our producer, Stephen Wilczynski. His intramural basketball team thought he was better than our intramural basketball team. And I'm here to tell you that the generators were put out. The power was stripped of them because yours truly, Leo Westbaum, scored 4 points and had 2 rebounds in a steamroll victory over the Generators. So I don't want to.
Well, congratulations,
toot my own horn,
Leo.
but thank you. I appreciate
although,
it.
are you guys still in the playoffs?
No, but neither are you.
Oh,
so.
yeah. I guess that's true. Well,
yeah, we made the Elite Eight. You guys were in round 32.
Okay. You know, let's end the show on a good note. All right, let's get out of here.
You don't want to see us in fisticuffs.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that will do it for this week's episode of All Access with the Profs. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending your evening with us. For our entire hardworking crew and my co-host here, Leo West, I'm Gerasimos Gervasiliou saying so long and have a wonderful rest of your night.